What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Alpha Prime, and welcome to another episode of Nerd Ya Later. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts and feelings on the Transformers franchise as a whole, and just my experience throughout the years, because Transformers is celebrating 40 years within the world, and it's actually an amazing achievement. Obviously, a lot of franchises have hit big goals and stuff, your Marvel, your DC sort of stuff. But Transformers has always been a massive thing for me growing up. Now, I've probably touched on this at different times about how I got into Transformers and stuff. As a kid, I was the late 80s, so as Transformers was sort of wrapping up, still a baby, really. So I wasn't obviously into Transformers right at the start from the G1. The first series that I actually got to watch live on TV was Beast Wars. But we'll get into that a little later. My first connection really with Transformers itself came through my cousin, my older cousin. Him and his brother had a lot of G1 Transformers. They had VHSs of Transformers. They had the 86 movie. I think they recorded off TV what was on TV at some point. Remember when you used to have to do that sort of stuff? I mean, that just makes me feel old straight away. VHSs, I'm sure some of you maybe aren't even aware of what they were or vaguely know what they are. But back then, that was the version of DVDs and stuff. Man, even recording, you can see in some of the videos and stuff that I do, they just, my brain and my words just do not match. I don't know what it is. But anyway, we'll carry on. So I got into Transformers after G1 had pretty much all finished here within Europe, the UK. G1 or G2 toys were still hitting shelves, because I do have a couple of G2 toys throughout the thing. So, it was still a thing with the G1 toys and stuff. So I would have spent a lot of time at my cousin's house, and I would have been messing about with the Transformers. I thought these were amazing. Robots, it wasn't just one toy. I mean, I was a big fan of dinosaurs, as most little boys are, and trucks and robots and stuff, and the fact that Transformers could fulfill quite a lot of that just from these individual toys. They could cover so much. I mean, if you just want to mess about with trucks for a while, just put them into truck mode, drive them around like normal trucks and stuff. Fancied having dinosaurs, you had the Dinobots. And then again, if you wanted just to mess about with some robots and stuff, perfect. I mean, for me then, I focused pretty much everything. I just wanted Transformers more than anything else. I think I just went all in. Anybody asked me what I wanted for birthdays, Transformers. Anybody asked me for Christmas, Transformers. It was pretty simple. I mean, just go out and get me Transformers. So Transformers was massive to me as a kid, and I watched a lot of the Saturday morning VHSs that had a whole pile of cartoons. So I didn't really have like a full run of actual Transformers, watching it from episode to episode. But that there came then when Beast Wars was released on TV. And I watched it every Sunday. It was on over here on TV, sort of in the mornings. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, looking back on it now, the CGI isn't great and stuff. But back then, that was massive. There were 3D sort of renderings. Again, because I had that affiliation with Transformers beforehand, this was just awesome. I mean, now they just changed it up to it was animals. I mean, but they covered so much. I mean, the Predacons had dinosaurs and stuff. So again, Garth was hooked. It was definitely a great era, I think. I know a lot of G1 fans that obviously grew up as G1 as their thing that they watched and they collected and stuff out there. So they were maybe getting a little detached at that stage, and Beast Wars just wasn't for them. But for me, Beast Wars really dragged me further into the Transformers franchise. Now, some of the figures, the toys, they were all right. They weren't great. The they tried to do something different. They didn't really look much like the characters on TV, but then again, if you look back at some of the G1 toys, some of them didn't look like the actual characters in the show either. You know, they had slight differences. They had different face sculpts. You know, there's just lots of things. So Beast Wars definitely hit a really good note with me. And again, toys were hitting the shelves. I was picking up Beast Wars constantly. I had a decent collection. I think I sold off some as I got older, which I probably regret now. But I still hung on to the main sort of ones. Obviously, there was a few I didn't get growing up, but that is life. I mean, when you're a kid and you're not earning money and you can't, you don't have any of that sort of stuff, you just have to rely on getting it for presents and stuff like that. So, so Beast Wars sort of went into Beast Machines and stuff out there. Beast Machines toys were absolutely horrendous. I think everyone will probably agree. The Beast Machines toys just weren't great. I enjoyed the show to an extent. I liked the idea of it. My favourite sort of story arc probably was the fact of getting Silverbolt back and him fighting with all the sort of inner demons and stuff. Great sort of franchise. Brilliant. Then I think Transformers went away for a while, and then we come into Transformers 2001. Now I was in secondary school at this stage, so I was sort of coming out of that phase as such, and other things took sort of preference, sports and whatnot, hanging out with friends and stuff. But I watched the odd episode here and there of RID. Thought it was all right, and I seen a few of the figures on shelves. Now obviously I got a wee bit of money, pocket money, whatever, or saved a bit of my dinner money, and I started to pick up a few figures just to see what they were like, and sort of found that sort of love for Transformers again. Now obviously I didn't collect all of them. I got a few figures here and there, just again wasn't working, didn't have expendable or much cash or anything like that there, so got into doing that, and I enjoyed Transformers once again. Then it sort of moved on. It went into Armada, and I thought this was really cool. I liked the idea of the Minicons. I liked, just the concept itself, where Minicons became the Star Saber, the Sky Boom Shade, the Requiem Blaster. That was really, really, really cool, and they brought some really cool ideas into it. They drew from other franchises. I mean, they had the Headmaster effect, and the name of that bot has left me. Sideways, was it? Yeah, Sideways the motorbike, and he had the whole Headmaster sort of style gimmick and all, and I thought, brilliant, absolutely loved it. So I picked up a few Armada figures here and there again, and then we came to Energon, and that's where I sort of really did sort of fall a wee bit. Energon just didn't capture me as much as Armada did. Again, I'm getting older at this point, and I'm sort of pulling away from it. Then came Cybertron, and it brought me back a little bit. I liked the idea of the Cyber Planet keys. I did watch as many of the episodes as I could. Obviously with Energon, I sort of hit and miss, watched a few episodes. I'm not sure even to this day that if I've watched the full thing from start to finish, I would definitely err on the side of I haven't seen the full thing. But Cybertron sort of was good. It was interesting, and I gave it a go, watched it, and really enjoyed it, and yeah, that's where it moved on from there. Now, I'm not going to remember every sort of series. I can just pick out the ones that really stood out to me. Transformers Animated was like a fun sort of series. It wasn't the same as most of the stuff they had done before. It was sort of out there, and you know what? That's what made it very interesting. It was something different. It still had really good storylines. It was just a product of its era, I suppose. But the thing that was really cool about it was the figures. The figures really did look like they came off the screen. Now, I know Armada and stuff like that, like they'd done really well with the figures on those in comparison to the early years of Transformers, of making them look pretty much like the characters. And it was really, really good show. I really enjoyed Transformers Animated. And obviously it was geared more to the younger age, but it was still just something fun for me just to switch off and enjoy. with all stuff going on, whatever, within my life sort of thing, growing up. But it allowed me just to sort of switch off, have a bit of fun watching stuff. I guess the real peak then for me was Transformers Prime. And what a series. What an absolute awesome series. I really enjoyed Transformers Prime. I picked up most of the figures. I think I was getting money at that stage. I did sort of pick up most of the figures from the Transformers line, or Transformers Prime line. And I absolutely loved the show. Now, after Prime, I think that's whenever I sort of moved away completely from Transformers. Didn't really watch much. Watched the live action movies as they came out. Really enjoyed the first live action movie. I really enjoyed. I thought, this is great. Finally, we have Transformers on the big screen. It started off really, really well, and it set it up for something big. The rest of the movies then, I think they started focusing on too much on the actual people in the movie, and it just seemed to be the same sort of story over and over. There was a relic, they had to take it here, they had to do this, and I sort of enjoyed them for what they were. Did I think they were absolutely amazing? Not really. They had good parts within them, but I really think that the first one was absolutely amazing. It really did. It just brought Transformers it pretty much revived the Transformers franchise. It had sort of fell by the wayside at this point, and let's face it, as much as many G1 fans, and even myself included, I suppose, you have to owe a lot to the Bayverse movies for really revitalising the Transformers series. If they hadn't have done that, if Bayverse hadn't have been a thing, would we even be getting the sort of figures we're getting now? The Transformers, your War for Cybertron, your Siege, your Earthrise Kingdom, even into the new ones. You've got your legacy sort of figures. Would we actually ever be even getting these? Would Transformers have reached 40 years if the Bayverse movies hadn't have come to light? I don't think so. I personally don't think that Transformers would be about the way it is now if the Bayverse movies hadn't have sort of revitalised the franchise. So in a way, as much as people sort of hate on them, and obviously they're entitled to their opinion, I mean, it's not the Transformers they're used to, but I've seen that throughout the years. I don't know about yourselves listening, but you have your sort of eras where a lot of people sort of, they like what they grew up with, and then whenever it's something new or something different from what they're used to, then they're not so keen on it. And that is 100% their opinion and their choice, and you have to respect that, I suppose. But I think in return, if you're expecting probably someone to respect your opinion on it, then I guess we all have to respect each other's opinion on it. And I like seeing other people's takes, or hearing other people's takes on their love for Transformers, because everybody's story is different. Everybody's story, I'm sure, will be really interesting to hear. I like hearing how people get into Transformers. I like hearing about, like what I'm talking about now, how they progress through the years. So yeah, the Bayverse movies definitely have their place within the Transformers franchise, as much as some people don't want to. But then back in the day, certain people didn't want Beast Wars to be part of the Transformers franchise. But again, Beast Wars was definitely a big part. And as much as anyone can argue it, it is part of the G1 continuity. I mean, they had Optimus and Megatron within the Ark. I mean, the Beast Wars, they found the Ark before obviously the Transformers had awoken. So essentially it is part of the G1 franchise. So as I get older then, and you sort of, some things just sort of come along or whatever, and you pick up on things and you watch things. I remember finding getting the Japanese continuity stuff, which I had never knew about until I was sort of later on in life, sort of late teens, early 20s. Never even knew it existed. So you've got the Headmasters, you had Master Force, you had Victory, and I watched them all. Obviously, they were sort of along the lines of the original G1 cartoon and stuff. of the way that they were designed, the way that, the animation and stuff like that there. Like, but I really enjoyed all three of those series. They were absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see Jinrai getting a masterpiece figure. I think a long time coming for a lot of fans, probably, that knew it obviously from way back, but obviously Master Force is an absolutely amazing series. But for me, the Japanese continuity really peaked for me with Victory. I really love Victory. I love Star Saber. I loved all the characters within Transformers Victory. Landcross was an amazing combiner. I mean, who wouldn't want one that could, each of the bots can combine with each other? Kind of like Energon did, I suppose. When I look back on it now, Energon, the two bots combining, was kind of similar to what Landcross did. So Energon did do their nods back to the original sort of G1 stuff as well, I suppose. So there is that. But, so I started enjoying Transformers again, and obviously Masterpiece figures were sort of coming out around that time, and I started picking up the Masterpiece figures. I mean, it was really peaking at that point, third party. The first figure that ever got me into collecting third party figures was the TFC stuff, Hercules and Uranus. So pretty much what they were calling it then was a Masterpiece-esque sort of line or figures of Superion and Devastator, and they were, for that time, were absolutely fantastic. Really, really like them. I have kept them in my collection, even though we have got better sort of figures and versions of them and stuff throughout the years, whether it be Chug or Masterpiece. I still hung on to them because they still held a really big part in my collection. I mean, they were the early third party sort of figures, and third party has really grown from then. So obviously, as many people know, Grimlock is my favourite character, and throughout all the franchises, I tried picking up, the different versions of Grimlock. And of course, most times when they do a Grimlock, they do the Dinobots, and the Dinobots were absolutely amazing. They were that wee bit of comic relief back in G1, so just a bit of fun sort of characters, really powerful as well, obviously. And I started getting into the comic books, and IDW was on the comic books at the stage that I got into them, with the Lost Light Crew, and I loved the Lost Light Crew. The stories were different. You didn't know what way they were going to go, and yeah, really enjoyable. And then they decided then that they were going to wrap it up within a few issues and stuff, and they were going a different direction, and I was brokenhearted. I really enjoyed the Lost Light Crew, and the fact that they were now going to be going away because they were going to try and unite everything and bring it all back to the start and restart again. I just didn't know what they were going to do with it then. And I guess the comics that they did release after that, they were pretty good. I definitely enjoyed them. They were, Transformers comics, but I've always had that attachment to Transformers, so it's always a good thing whenever I see something new coming out of it. But the comic books definitely sort of just kept that going, kept that sort of love for the Transformers going. And then they decided they'd reboot all the comic books again, which they're doing now. And the new comic books are actually, they're touching more of the MG1 strings now this time round. So, they're sort of rebooting the G1 series as such, just with different stories. They've changed, flipped different things. I mean, obviously the Autobots aren't in the arc anymore. Sorry for any spoilers if anyone hasn't read the comic books yet, but I mean, we're on issue 7, so they have been out for a little while. Yeah, so the actual series, the comics sort of kept it going for this bit. Obviously, in between the movies, we have had Transformers 2015, was it? I didn't really watch that series. I watched a couple of episodes and just didn't like it. And they were just going for a different demographic. I know it was supposed to be a follow-on from Transformers Prime, which is why I watched the first couple of episodes and thought, no, this is just not for me. I seen that they were bringing Grimlock. He was going to be one of the characters and stuff. Didn't overly like the Grimlock in it. I liked the fact that there was a Grimlock in it, but it wasn't what I expected from Transformers, personally. And I think you probably, at this stage, you can see where this is going. I was going to release this podcast sort of last week. I was going to do it, but I decided I'm going to hang on and wait till I see the new trailer for Transformers 1. Transformers 1. Now, when this was first announced, I honestly thought it was going to be along, the lines of the G1 continuity. This was going to be the lead up to the actual original Transformers series, the G1 series. And I thought this was going to sort of build up, possibly do it over 3 movies, and then pretty much link it in with the first episode of the G1 series, which has got, I think, a few fans probably thought similarly, maybe not exactly the same, but similarly. Oh man, I can't really pronounce. Similarly, to what I was thinking, and thought maybe the G1. I still can't believe I can't get that word. Anyway, probably thought the same as what I was thinking. This was going to be back to basics, back to the original Transformers. Really round out stuff. 40 years of Transformers. Let's bring it right round to G1 again. Full circle. And I sort of sat down to watch the thing. I was going to do a live reaction, and I thought, or not a live reaction, but just a reaction video, and I thought, the excitement I couldn't wait, I couldn't do it. Some people are better than me at that. So I sat down yesterday evening, and I watched the trailer. And I watched it, and there's a couple of little moments, and I thought, okay, bit of fun. But it definitely reminds me of RID 2015 or Cyberverse. That's the other one. I forgot to even mention Cyberverse. I never watched Cyberverse. The odd episode here and there, just if it was on, or was it maybe attached to a video, watching it on YouTube or something, but I never really watched it. I think I actually skipped, and I watched like the end bit whenever the Dinobots all combined. I think I watched that sort of series bit just because Dinobots, let's face it, it's me. But the rest of the Cyberverse I didn't watch. Anyway, the episodes I did watch of Cyberverse, this just reminds me similar to RID 2015 and Cyberverse. Now, for obviously people that enjoyed those series and stuff are probably thinking, yes, this is awesome, whatever. And I do think it's good, but it's just not. I think it's because it's not what I was expecting it to be. But I do enjoy Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse and stuff, those sort of show or movies. And I feel it's on par with those, and I think that's why I sort of leaning towards, obviously I want to watch it. I do want to go to the movies and watch it. Now I watched the trailer again with one of my kids, and they really enjoyed it. It was their kind of humour, their sort of thing, and that is why I sort of got it in my head. Then it's like, you know what? That's what this is. It's not supposed to be for us 30 plus, possibly in their 40s, sort of collectors and fans and stuff. This is to bring new kids into the Transformers franchise. I mean, eventually we're going to get to the stage where we're not buying figures, we're not watching stuff. It may never happen, obviously people might collect, but eventually, they have to be thinking maybe the next 10 to 20 years of this franchise, so they're thinking, I need to bring in new fans, and I think this movie could be the way of doing that. You look at the Spider-Verse movies, they have got a massive following. They have got lots of people enjoying it, myself included, which is why I'm sort of still optimistic a little to maybe enjoying this Transformers movie in some shape or form. Again, I'm going to watch it with my kids. I'm going to take them to it. Well, at least the younger two. I don't think the eldest would be well interested, but it's something I can do with them. It's they're going to enjoy it. They'll laugh at all the silly jokes and the silly bits and stuff. But you know, the way I look at it is that, you know, this movie is not what I was expecting, but it could be just a new thing for the actual franchise, and it'll probably attract new fans to the Transformers franchise, just like the Bayverse did. I mean, again, this is just another part, almost 20 years down the line from the first original movie. Well, not original movie, obviously 86 is the original movie, but, you know, the live action movie and how it was received. And I think that Transformers 1 is possibly going to be the same. Now, I guess I need to get my thoughts across for the actual movie itself now, because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I do think that they missed something. I definitely think a lot of fans thought, you know, with the Bayverse and stuff wasn't really doing for those sort of fans, and we thought that maybe they were going to give the older generation of collectors of Transformers and fans and stuff. I thought, as many as them probably thought, that, you know, this was going to be their sort of nod to those fans. You know, this Transformers 1, this was going back, it was going to be the first animated movie since the original, you know, 40 years. These fans have been collecting quite a lot of that time and stuff, and this was going to be like the real nod to them. And I guess it's not, and that's probably why a lot of fans don't like Transformers 1. It's not what they were expecting. Yes, I do believe it should have been, you know, the real nod to it. But when you think about it, like, obviously, when I watched, you know, my kid and stuff watching the advert, the trailer, and the enjoyment they got from it, I sort of thought to myself then that, yeah, that's what they're aiming for there. They're trying to catch the coattails of Spider-Verse, I believe, and all the kids that really enjoyed those movies and how well they did. And I think they're just trying to catch the coattails for there and try and bring Transformers into that era and maybe boost the franchise that way. But I definitely think that Hasbro definitely should be doing something to essentially thank the original fans, you know, the G1ers, even the Beast Wars sort of era and stuff, you know, all those fans that have stayed with them all this time, have bought products, have bought the figures, have watched the series. You know, there wouldn't be a Transformers this long if those guys hadn't have picked up on that. I mean, a perfect example is Visionaries. Visionaries got one season and they didn't even release all the figures and stuff. For different reasons, obviously, this, that and the other, but it just didn't take off the same way as Transformers. Now, if it had have, and the fans took it the way that Transformers did, and I like Visionaries, you know, it could have been around for this time. So for me, for Hasbro just to sort of not cater something towards those fans for such a big thing like 40 years, I think it's a massive miss. And I definitely think that, you know, they deserve that wee bit of backlash, I suppose, from some of the fans that have really kept this franchise going for so long. I mean, the Masterpiece line, a lot of those were, I mean, pretty much all those there were bought up by the older sort of fans, and they made, let's face it, they made lots of money off those. So I definitely think they sort of owed the G1 fans something. And this Transformers 1 was their big chance, and they didn't deliver on it. I think it definitely was a big miss. And I know it's going to annoy a lot of Transformers fans. And it did annoy me initially, but like I said to you, I'll enjoy it with the kids. And we'll see where it goes from there. It'll be interesting to see where they go with the Transformers, because they've announced that they're going a different direction now with the Masterpiece. I've done a video on that. Definitely check that out on my videos. And I just think that, you know, everything's sort of changing. There's a lot happening with Hasbro. Obviously, they're in a bit of trouble, I think, from what I've watched and heard. And it'll just be very interesting to see where exactly this goes in the end. I think they're clawing at every wee lifeline that they can get. But I definitely think that the best opportunity for them would have been to go towards the G1 fans that have been there the whole time. And I think, if they would have had that little bit of faith in the G1 fans, I think, that would have been the real saving for them over this time. Obviously, they've released the Optimus Prime / Orion Pax figure. Has just been announced, and it looks alright, but it doesn't look like Orion Pax in the movie. I've heard people mentioning about they had it branded as Optimus Prime because Orion Pax just won't sell as well. But anybody that knows Orion Pax, then, let's face it, other movies, they release the actual character that's actually on the TV. So I suppose Orion Pax at the start of this movie doesn't transform, and let's face it, that's what their figures do. So they've given him his transformed body, but the head sculpt isn't Orion Pax, it's actually Optimus Prime. So that's mine. Without rambling on and just going over and over the same sort of things, that's my sort of thoughts and feelings throughout the 40 years of Transformers. It's had a lot of highs, it's had a lot of lows. I've enjoyed different things for different reasons. Sometimes certain series will mean more to me because they came at the right time when I needed it. That just that little bit of enjoyment, just something to sort of switch off. Like many people, I've had my ups and downs sort of in life, growing up as a kid and stuff. Obviously, it's not to be sort of discussed really on this sort of platform, but Transformers definitely was massive to me growing up as a kid. I clung to it, I really enjoyed it, and I have a real strong connection to it. I'm so glad that it has reached 40 years. Have I agreed with everything that Transformers has done? No, definitely not. I think nobody probably in the whole world can probably say that they love 100% of everything in Transformers. Everyone's got their own opinions, their own ideals, and I think what I like is probably just a little nudge towards TF Nation. Here in the UK is you go to TF Nation, you see fans from all over that have all different backgrounds, and they all love different aspects within the Transformers franchise, and it's amazing to see. And it's great chatting with some of them about their experiences and what they like and what they enjoy about Transformers. It's brilliant. I love it. Because you've got your Bayverse fans, you have your animated fans, you have your Cyberverse fans are even starting to sort of appear there, and it is great. Do I like all those different franchises? Not all of them, but it is just great to see different fans just fueling the Transformers engine, put it that way. Like, I mean, we're all pretty much the energon for the franchise, and it is just amazing to see it just keep going, and hopefully it'll go for years to come. But it is going to be very interesting just how this movie does and where it goes afterwards. So that's the end of my thoughts and sort of the podcast itself. Let me know down in the comments section below, or as always, do a response video to this on your thoughts and feelings over, like, give me your experience. Where did you jump in Transformers? Were you from right back in the G1 series? Did you jump in at Beast Wars? Maybe animated, the Energon trilogy, or the Unicron trilogy, should I say? Where did you jump in? What's your thoughts and feelings? Or did you jump in with the Bayverse? I think, let's face it, a lot of fans come in through that Bayverse sort of era. So I would be very interested to hear from you. As always, it's always interesting to hear people's different takes on the Transformers franchise. I mean, we all love Transformers, let's face it, and maybe for different reasons. So it's always good to hear what each person thinks of it and how they fell in love with this great, let's face it, it's an awesome franchise. So until next time, guys, stay awesome.